Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Gonna bring this little generator back to life. Gonna try to do it tonight. It's an International Harvester single phase generator. The tags are gone on it, so this is one tag and there's nothing readable on here. This is the other tag. I can make out 1260 and that's it. 4-cylinder. It looks to be mostly complete except for some spark plug wires and a couple other little wires. I'm not worried about the wiring. Out of the generator head, there's 3 leads. A rather small lead that connects to one of the big leads, and then 2 larger leads. I'm fairly confident that this is a 220 volt single phase generator. It's got a voltage regulator back here that goes up to the generator, the 12 volt generator. It's got a little instrument panel. I love these gauges. These are fantastic. I'll have to secure that proper. Over here there's a choke. There's I don't know what this does. I believe it might be a throttle. It goes all the way back and actuates something back here. I wonder if that is a decompression lever. I doubt it. It's a gas engine. Side draft carburetor or a down draft. I don't know technical terms. Oh, that's stuck on now. There we go. In here doesn't look horrible to me. So the first thing I'm going to do, pop the valve cover. Well, I'll brush it off a little bit just so I don't get too much crap in there, but I'll get the valve cover off and we'll take out the spark plugs and we'll start looking at those. I've got a bunch of plug wires. I do have a radiator for it. Let's see if we can make it run. Also, the fuel bowl down here is gummed up, but that's easy. So let's see what we can do. Just a little bit of this. Didn't do a whole lot, but now we cracked the valve cover. Well, it's not the best. It's not the worst. This stuff here that looks like rust, I thought it was rust, but it's not. It's cleaning up nicely just by rubbing it around with my finger. It looked like the valve caps and everything had a really bad layer. I do have one stuck valve, which is highly unfortunate. So I'm going to rotate it around. I'm going to pull the spark plug, or the spark plugs, and look at those. I'll rotate it around and bring it back if I find anything unusual. It's only 5 o'clock and things are already getting dark, but I've got the forklift light up there. The spark plugs looked fantastic. Now I'm trying to free up this stuck valve. I've been tapping on it with this little hammer and then just using, there's a little bit more force than I should have used, but using a wrench to bring it back up and just moving it up and down, trying to get it unstuck. And then I got spark plug wires installed. The number 1 was pretty obvious. It's marked on the cap. I did take it off and I cleaned everything, but number 1 was obvious. Number 2 was a bit not so obvious, but the number 2, there's another wire down here that ran up. Excuse me. It was a wire that ran up and it was kind of petrified in place and it looked like it went to the number 2 cylinder. So I think that this distributor rotates clockwise if you're looking at it from the cap end. We'll see if that works. If not, I'll reverse it. After that, it has oil in it. I can put a battery on it and try to start it. I might try to chase down these wires and try and start it sort of properly through the starter solenoid, or I might just jump a battery to the starter. I don't know yet. And then I'll have to figure out the coil and get power to the coil, make sure she's got spark, and if it's got spark and it turns, then we can go from there. Alright, so I made a bit more progress. The stuck valve is still thinking about it. She was unstuck there for a little bit, but I wired it up and I can get it to turn over. She's got spark. She's definitely got compression because it blew a bunch of stuff out of the exhaust. So it's got spark, seems to have compression, it turns over. I'm gonna take the intake off. I should have grabbed some gasoline earlier. I gotta go grab some gas, and I'll get some starting fluid as well. And I'll use starting fluid at first just to see if it even wants to try and fire off. And then I'll plumb up some gasoline with a little electric pump and see if I can get it running off the carburetor. I am gonna go grab one of my plugs and terminate the ends of the generator inside of a plug similar to those. I'll just use the female end. That way I can test it without the risk of accidentally, shocking myself. It'd be nice and safe inside of a plug. So I'll bring you guys back and we'll see if it fires up. Well, everything is hooked up. I took the air cleaner off. I'm going to spray starting fluid directly into the carburetor and we'll see if it fires off at all. I don't know if I'm going to have enough voltage. I did check and make sure. I wired it for a negative ground. I believe it was wired for positive ground at first. That's just the coil wires have to be flipped. I'll see whenever it's running. Connect up the coil and we'll see if she fires off. So I'll set you guys by the light here. This here's our coil wire that goes to positive. Let's see now. Starting fluid is here. Woo. I love old shit. It just fucking works. That's fantastic. Alright, you guys didn't get to see what I saw at first and why I was kind of laughing. Here's the starting fluid. Oh, sadness. Everything is ready to go, but it's starting to rain. It's not a heavy rain, but I've got everything covered up. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but around here the weather changes every couple of minutes. So we'll see if the rain continues. If it continues, I'll cover everything up more permanently. Nothing will get damaged right now, but the covers might blow away if winds come and the rain continues. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can get it started. Well, I got impatient. Drug it inside. Had to rearrange a bunch of stuff. This might blind you guys. There we go, now you can see. She does want to run. What I had to do to get it to run was the fuel line has to go directly to the carburetor. The fuel bowl and pump are gummed up and they're not allowing fuel to go through, so I just went straight to the carburetor. Seems to be working all right. It gets really good oil pressure. Now what I'm going to do is take a multimeter, stick it to the leads that are coming out of it, and see what kind of voltage I might be getting, if any, because I might not be getting anything. And if I have to sit there and excite this generator and other things, I'll leave that for another day. The motor runs, super happy with that. Let's just see maybe if this guy makes power. Well, it's the next morning, and it works. It functions. It makes electricity. Motor sounds fantastic. There's no horrible ticky clicky noises. Seems to have decent compression. Carburetor does leak, but I mean, that's just what carburetors do. They're just controlled leaks. This one's kind of uncontrolled right now, so I'm gonna have to fix that. It could also be that my fuel pump is just pushing too much pressure. The original mechanical fuel pump in it was unhappy. It wouldn't allow pressure through it, so I just bypassed it and went straight to the carburetor. At first it didn't leak out, but then it started leaking out. Something might have swelled, or maybe I just too much pressure. I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this little guy. I was really hoping that the original owners of this machine, because there's two leads coming out of it, two main leads, I was really hoping that this was a three-phase unit and that they had just snipped the third leg and they just were drawing single-phase power out of it. I was wrong. This is a 4-pole generator. It is generating single-phase 240 volts. So I do have to find a way to convert the single-phase into three-phase, but that's not a problem. I have all my stuff is running on three-phase right now. So hopefully the VFDs don't mind. I believe I'm gonna try to look for a 20 horsepower or a 15 horsepower three-phase motor so that I can build a rotary phase converter and run everything off of a rotary phase converter, because I don't believe that a rotary phase converter and the motors themselves are going to be all that sensitive to slight changes in hertz and voltage. I don't believe they will. So that would be a much sort of a dumber system than using variable frequency drives with all of their electronics and capacitors and such. They might not appreciate different hertz and frequencies and stuff. I'm planning out the reefer shop, sort of the layout, so I haven't really introduced it to the channel yet, but I have a Warner & Swasey number 2A turret lathe on the truck over there. It's got a ratcheting bar feeder. It's a really nice machine, and it needs to go in the reefer shop here in a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is put the turret lathe in first. That'll be the first machine, because that's the machine that I'm going to keep the longest. It's got hardened ways, it's in very good condition, and I have a lot of work for it to do. And then the ratcheting bar feed comes off the back of the lathe. Let me just show you, just for a better visual of how this is going to go. And I know my floor is disgustingly dirty. I got rid of the surface grinder. I'll talk about that in a minute. There's a ratcheting bar feed. It's essentially a bar that comes off the back about 6 feet, maybe 7 feet. And it's got a leg at the very end of it. And it's got a bearing on top that feeds your work in. There's a lever on the headstock that you pull, and it will feed the work in whenever the collet is open. That way you don't have to sit there, grab the material, and move it forwards. I think I'm going to put that little generator underneath the bar feed inside of the shop and run the exhaust outside. Now, I know that this is risky, and I'm not dead set on it yet. It is a gas generator, so it should start okay in the cold, as it is winter now. It should start okay in the cold, but I would like it to be inside, under cover, protected, because it's going to be such an integral part of the business. This and the turret lathe and most of the machines I have now, I'm doing everything I can to make them as proper and as nice as possible, because I need them to last. I need them to do their job for a very long time. So I think this is going to go inside. I'll have exhaust pipes going outside. I'll keep a fire extinguisher around. I'm going to rebuild the carburetor so it doesn't leak. Right now it's leaking really bad. And I'm going to build a skid for this thing. Just a steel tube skid. That way I can move it around with the forklift easily, or easier. And I'm probably going to try to find some rubber mounts to mount this thing on. I have that radiator for it, because it has no cooling system at the moment. I have that radiator, and I also have a large International Lodestar radiator. I think I'm going to use the large International Lodestar radiator instead of this one. This one is supposed to go on the Dozer project. Of course, the Dozer project is another couple of years out from being completed, so I mean, I wouldn't really care if I use that, but the big Lodestar generator, or Lodestar radiator, just might be a bit nicer. I think that's about it. It works. It functions. I'm unbelievably excited. I've been waiting to get a generator for a long time. I've seen many of them pop up, but they've been out of my price range. And I was nervous when I first saw this one. I was extremely nervous that I was just wasting my time. I have had so many instances where I got something like the other radial arm drill. I got that one, it was old, it sat outside for a long time. I ended up scrapping it. I got the boring mill, I ended up selling it. I got the the vertical turret lathe, the vertical boring mill, and I ended up scrapping it. I'm really glad that this thing worked out. It's a fantastic win, and it's so simple that as long as I don't jerry-rig everything, I should be able to trust it. to do what I need it to do. So, with all that being said, please like and subscribe if you want to see more, and have a fantastic day.